is TechStrong TV.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Schneider for TechStrong TV. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of digital transformation in manufacturing. Joining us now is James Newman, Head of Product and Portfolio Marketing at Augury. James is an advocate for leveraging innovative technologies to drive impactful results. We'll explore how Augury's groundbreaking State of Production Health survey sheds light on manufacturers' technology investments and their efforts to quantify ESG initiatives. So, interesting topic. James, it's great to have you on TechStrong TV.
Well, thank you for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of what we learned from this survey.
Wonderful. Can you tell us first, though, a little bit about yourself and your journey into the realm of digital transformation and how it led you to your role at Augury?
Sure. So I am the firm byproduct of be careful what you complain about. It might be your job to fix it. For more than 20 years now, I've been involved in engineering and manufacturing in different roles. Somewhere around 15 years ago, we started deploying digital technologies in the companies I worked at to very bad success, to be honest. And so I began to work with my teams to say, why is this not working? Why are we spending all this money, but nothing's really changing? And then before you knew it, I made too much noise and I was in charge of digital transformation for our organization. So I lived for that the next 7 years around our global world. I led the opportunity to figure out how digital technologies actually changed the way we work. Then about 10 years ago, I got the opportunity to kind of shift my side of the fence and move to technology providers. And since then, I've had the opportunity to work with several technology providers who actually helped to deliver and enable the transformation that seemed to be possible. I tend to hate the word digital transformation just a little bit because it's really about business transformation using digital. And sometimes people get too hung up on technology, but it's really around how do people work differently. I had the opportunity about 2 years ago to come to Augury. Really awesome opportunity for me. For those of you who don't know Augury is about $1 billion organization focused on machine and process health. We're using AI solutions to transform the way that people use data to make decisions. So that was a perfect fit for me. And here at Augury, I get the chance to do cool things like talk to you and share kind of the message of what's happening in the world.
That's great. Speaking about the manufacturing industry, they face unique challenges when it comes to quantifying ESG initiatives, which has certainly been in the news lately. So how does Augury's survey help with that?
Really kind of in three areas. First of all, it's a great tool for us taking the pulse of where things stand today in manufacturing. On several different areas, actually. Most important, perhaps, is how important is sustainability in the grand scheme of things. And to be honest, not important enough. When we looked at this survey and we asked people, what are your top objectives? In reality, only 17% included meeting sustainability and ESG targets as top of mind for them. That's not really good enough. But on the other hand, it helps us also to identify where people are working to deliver some value. It was kind of an interesting mix in this particular survey. We saw environmentally smarter technologies and reducing byproduct waste and producing more environmentally friendly products kind of rise to the top. So even though it's not such a good news around how sustainable, how high it is on the priority list, people are taking actions. However, what we also see, which is interesting, is that in fact, people are having trouble quantifying the value of their activities. Let's take an example of that. 37% of the people we surveyed said they're working on reducing byproduct waste, but only 29% of those folks can actually quantify the impact of the initiatives. So it's not all great news, to be honest. But what it also says is people are taking action. It's beginning to get more serious, but actually the opportunity in front of us is still very vast. And this survey kind of outlines some of those things for us.
That makes sense. What did you learn about the way manufacturers use AI, and what insights did you gain from that what you learned from the survey?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting problem. Most people, when they think about sustainability, immediately think about alternative energy and sustainable packaging, a lot of those things that are in the news. But in reality, there's a lot of opportunity just to make the way we produce things today more sustainable. And we see a lot of people investing in that area. For example, 70% of the manufacturers we talk to, they sort of claim their production potential is really good or even excellent. But at the same time, they all admit they're struggling with things like unreliable equipment and unplanned downtime and other things like that actually impact sustainability significantly and directly. At the same time, however, 71% of the people we talked to said that sustainability targets either hurt or have zero impact on their ability to make production. That's not awesome, actually. That they still view this a little bit as a competition between profitability and sustainability, and that's a real problem. They're not symbiotic today. But what we see customers who are deploying AI doing is beginning to overcome that gap between the two. And what we mean by that is that as people optimize their machines and their processes for efficiency, safety, capacity, all the things that are production related, profitability related, they can also optimize them to be cleaner and have less waste and to be more reliable so that the downstream and upstream effects are matched. And when we really talk about this a lot, because in the past we could solve for one problem at a time. Using AI solutions, we see people solving multiple objectives simultaneously. And that allows us then to begin to make a real impact. And we published a paper a year or so ago that said it's no longer a zero-sum game. You don't have to pick between people and processes in the planet. You can now optimize for all of them simultaneously. But the only way we can do that is through good application of AI.
Well, sustainability initiatives require buy-in from various stakeholders within a manufacturing organization. So how does the technology like yours help bridge the gap between different departments to ensure a cohesive and environmentally responsible approach?
So the reality is today, most goals from sustainability are still set at the corporate level. There are corporate objectives, and that's where they should start. The challenge we have today is they don't often get cascaded down far enough. People don't often get to have good visibility into what's happening in real time, which means that most of the sustainability metrics are lagging indicators, and they come up way too late to actually affect the outcome. They tell us how we did, but not how we're doing, if you want to think about it like that. And so with solutions like ours, we now enable people to see them in real time, what's happening, to make adjustments in real time, to account for things like, oh, we have machines running poorly and they're consuming more energy. Let's go fix them and bring them back down to consuming less electricity. You could never do that with lagging indicators. So what we see people with technology like ours doing is bringing that down to the shop floors and to the places where people can actually make immediate impact on the objectives without waiting for a quarter or 6 months to find out how poorly they did. And that's sort of the transition we're making here.
Do you have any specific examples of success stories?
Sure. Let me start with kind of the big picture and then drop into a specific example, if that's okay. You know, when Augury talks about sustainability, we talk about audacious goals. For example, we had a study performed recently by an independent research company that said if every manufacturer in North America alone adopted Augury, that we would cut emissions from manufacturing by 12% over the next 10 years. It's a big number. Now, we haven't done that yet, but that's the target we're shooting for, right? That's not replacing equipment. That's doing better with what you have, and that's important. At the same time, waste is a huge issue. Downstream, upstream impacts of byproducts of waste, of raw materials, or nearly finished goods, and those also are things we impact. So, what does that look like practically? So, one of our machine health customers had deployed machine health first. Most people start there with a machine space. And in the first year of deployment, they saved over 1 million pounds of raw material from waste year over year. 1 million pounds, and all of that downstream impact about transportation of raw materials and the production and all the agricultural in this particular case, waste that was prevented from saving 1 million pounds of raw materials. So that's a pretty cool impact. So then they said, okay, what's next? So they deployed what we call process health into one of their facilities. And in the first 3 months of that implementation, they actually reduced their waste by 45% year over year, period over period, while at the same time increasing output by 2%. So both directions at the same time. And they reduced their energy consumption by 4% on the same line. So what we allow them to do then is to begin to make tactical, very practical, in the weeds and out on the shop floor changes to how they run that actually, in fact, has a notable impact on their sustainability initiatives. And so that's a pretty, and at the same time, they're increasing output, they're increasing their quality, reducing their cost. So profitability is going up while sustainability is being achieved. That's a pretty cool outcome.
That's great. Well, being a leader in digital transformation for manufacturing, how does your company stay ahead of emerging technologies? It seems like there's a lot changing in digital transformation all the time. So how have you been able to stay abreast of all that?
You know, a lot of it's around communication, right? A lot of it's around research. to be really honest, there are so many new technologies that come out every day. It's almost impossible to keep up with all of them. So what's important to look for is which ones actually are tangible and applicable. Augury kind of prides itself on looking at solutions that are easy for users to adopt, not that it requires huge research, and we want to do the research for them, right? So when they take it, it's fast time to value, fast to achieve outcomes that are tangible and drive confidence that this is something we can obtain. So for us, it's all around the R&D. We have a lot of our teams who are out constantly exploring and talking to other customers and looking at what customers are doing and what other technologies are doing, and then looking at how we bring that together. There's no easy answer to this in some cases. Monitoring a single machine is not necessarily practical. So how do you do that more holistically? So there's lots of those technologies like that around energy monitoring and waste monitoring and steam monitoring and emissions monitoring that all play a role here. And trying to find the right ones is really the key here.
As sustainability practices evolve, companies are now facing new challenges, especially global ones, in understanding and implementing complex ESG guidelines. Lots of changes ahead, especially moving into 2024. So how does Augury plan to support manufacturers in deciphering all these new regulations that are coming out? And of course, when they vary in different parts of the world?
Yeah, so a lot of it's around the flexibility of your modeling. This is to a certain extent. So what I mean by that is, particularly if you look at things like waste and quality and emissions, it'll be almost impossible to have a single piece of software that knows all of them. This is almost non-practical. But what you can do is set the software up so it allows you to build to incorporate that into the models that it does and dynamically keep up with them. So it could have the same model applied in 3 different regions with 3 different criteria. So our contribution to that is really by enabling the customers who work with us to have the flexibility to adapt in real time to change in regulations. It's going to be a little bit of a Wild West scenario. It's kind of an American phrase, but a Wild West scenario for a bit is between regions as things change. Being able to capture my waste moved by this much, that meant this in the regulation, my regulatory compliance has to be very flexible. And that's sort of our contribution, is to build the flexibility in for them.
That makes sense. And finally, for the last question, looking ahead, what role do you see Augury playing in the evolution of digital transformation and ESG initiatives in the manufacturing industry?
So, there's so much to do in manufacturing that we'll probably spend our lifetime solving this challenge, because there's so much opportunity there. But it's super important that we do that. When you think about the manufacturing footprint on everything we do in society, it's pretty monumental. So our goal was really to help them understand how to produce better and to produce more sustainably. Our challenge is to help customers stop saying be sustainable, but we're going to be more sustainable today by solving this problem we couldn't solve before. So our role was really to provide solutions that enable them to answer questions they couldn't answer before. Obviously leveraging AI in our case, that allow them to take very complex problems and not be overwhelmed by them, but in fact, bring them to measurable value. And so that's sort of our goal, and that's sort of our objective, is to allow people to not focus on, can I solve the problem, but what does this problem enable me to do?
That's great. That's an optimistic outlook as well. Thank you so much, James Newman, Head of Product and Portfolio Marketing at Augury. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about sustainability and manufacturing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Great. All right, well, stay with us on TechStrong TV. We'll have more interviews like this coming up.